Hi, I'm Perry O. Welcome to my studio. In this short video, my main goal is not to bore you to death. That being said, let's start with 3 parts. The first is I plan to show you a few of my paintings and the reason why I chose them and the interesting stories behind them. Part 2 would be the creative process and how I paint them. And no, not by numbers. And the third part would be my philosophy about painting, a slice of my background, and the answer to the most often asked question. Hey Perry, how long did it take you to paint that? Answer: 6 years of private lessons and hundreds of hours of painting. This is an interior of the Mills Mansion, which is a grand Victorian mansion in upstate New York. And the most difficult part of this painting was the ceiling. And the perspective on that, I must have worked a whole week just to get it right on the ceiling. Over here, you'll see the Davis lingerie painting. I absolutely love doing black and whites. They're so dramatic. And if you notice, the perspective on this painting, the photo was done from another building out the window, looking down onto the street level and just adding to the complicity of the painting. Painting is Downtown America, 1960. Urbanscapes are my favorite. They're so complex. Why do I love doing urbanscapes? Because I'm a glutton for punishment. Bay Horse Cafe. Bay Horse Cafe was a photo from Cincinnati, Ohio. And this painting was done from a friend of mine and I when we took a motorcycle trip to Kentucky. And my buddy was in the lead and he looked back and there I was in the middle of the street, camera in hand, stopping traffic to take this photo of this tavern. And if you notice, there he is. He just came out of the tavern, this old man hunched over. It was perfect. The light was coming down onto the building, and you could see the heavy shadow from the buildings on this side of the street, blocking the light source. So in the art world, when you talk about painterly, that means you're being loose. Everything doesn't have to be so tight and exact. But there's always 3 things that you can't fudge, and that's light source, perspective, and proportion. So when the light is coming here, that means the shadows have to be in a certain direction. And the perspective, so when you're looking down the street, the way the buildings go, the windows, everything has to be in line. You can't fudge on that, just like proportion. So the height of the man compared to the windows, he has to be in proportion. So the most difficult part of this painting was the fire escape. These are the old-fashioned kind. So when you come down the fire escape, the ladder drops down to the next one. So in this painting, the fire escape, there was no escape. A lot of artists like to opine about the different techniques they use in art. When people ask me what time it is, I tell them what time it is. They don't need to know how the clock works. So my philosophy about art is it either moves you emotionally, makes you sad, happy, nostalgic, or it takes you to a place. So when I'm doing a show, a lot of times people will come up to me and say, I've been there, or I know exactly where that is. And it always puts a smile on my face. Here's a brief look behind the curtain. So when I start the painting, I take the photo and I put in the quarters, halves, and 75s all around the photo. And then I do the same thing with the canvas. The reason for that is now I can place all the different features of the painting in the same place on the canvas. So I've been a businessman for 36 years, and everything has to be in order. The books have to balance. And I'm a man of order. So now I paint from back to front. So here I put in my whole drawing of the barn and the big tree. And now what's in the back would be the sky. And everything that's going to come next will be in front. So I've put in my sky, and now I can go ahead with the roof of the barn and the tree and all the different things that are in front. And after I put in my sky, the first thing I'm going to do is get a glass of bourbon. I started painting in my mid-50s. Most of my artist friends always start talking about how they were drawing like when they were 6 years old. And maybe they took a few workshops, they read a few books. Me, not so much. They had that natural talent. I sat there for 6 years, every Monday, taking those private art lessons. So it leads me back to that question. How long did it take you to paint that, Perry? Hey, thanks for joining me on my journey.
Thank you for watching our video on Perry Olshein. It was a pleasure to be able to work with him. You can find his work at paintingsbyperryo.com or contact him at 574-935-6677.